Welcome to the RaceGuru Thunder Hour. I'm your co-host, Rich. Hate the game, not the player, Maletto. Joined, as always, by the man, the myth, the legend, behind the curtain, in front of the camera today, Sean Engel, who you can find on X at SeanE247. Remember, that's the fun way to spell Sean, SeanE247. And the whole crew's back. We got him. We reeled him in. We had to throw out some serious chum, but we got him back. The DFS Marlin is back in the store. We're not even in the store. Back on the pod this week. You can find Mark Hogan on X at DFS_Marlin. Great stuff by Mark all the time. He is one of the most savvy DFS players I've ever met, period, point blank, full stop. So glad to have him back. He's made us all better here and helped us win some money. This RaceGuru Thunder Hour is brought to you, as always, by FantasyGuru.com and the Elite Plus Network. Please head over to FantasyGuru.com. Click on the subscribe button. Check out all the different packages we got. I'm not even going to pretend to tell you where the promos are because I don't know. I know we've got hockey and basketball starting, which if you took advantage of the MVP promo that we suggested last January or February or March, whatever it was when we started the show back up, it was $40 for the year, and that included 12 months all the way around. So you would have had football or basketball and hockey already included in your membership. Just throwing that out there. But football's in full swing. We are still producing baseball content. Don't be missing out on some of the savvy bets out there. I know Ray's been on fire at times over the last 2 weeks with some of his bets. He's dialed into baseball. We got, we missed the buy one, get one free. If you missed out on that for the DFS, the football DFS package to get you the betting package, reach out to support@fantasyguru.com. Tell them what you're looking for. Tell them what your package is. Whisper sweet nothings. Offer to send some booze and see if they hook you up.
Yeah, there you go. That's hooking them up right there. You know, that you hook them up, they hook you up. It's a nice and wonderful relationship.
Scratch your back, I'll scratch. You scratch mine, I'll scratch yours. Seems to work out pretty decent.
Yeah. Be sure to don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave comments to us too. Whether it's through Twitter, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's through Discord, interact with us. We like to hear from you. So
even if you're making fun of my forehead, I don't even care.
True.
Yeah, I got to give a big shout out to Jorge Pucks too, man. NHL starting here. He was putting out some content starting last night. And NHL, that is y'all got to check some NHL DFS out because that is a sneaky play that you cash out on and get some nice overlay on.
Oh, yeah.
Good call, Mark, because I know we've given Jorge plugs on here in the past, but he does not get his due, in my opinion. He catches such fire on hockey. Do not miss out. We all hit the cold streaks, all that BS. But I'm telling you, his hot streaks on hockey are straight fire. Excellent call out, Mark.
Oh yeah. And you know, you mentioned basketball too. Fensty's been getting ready for basketball season as well, and he's been getting his NBA watch-alongs already all together in the Discord chats too. So that's a lot of fun.
He's putting out like NBA stuff like year round too, and it shows. Like last year, NBA season started. I read a Fensty article like 2 weeks into the season and knocked down. It was like 12 or 13K the night before I had knee surgery. So it was just like a random play. I just pulled his article, plug and played his core four, threw in a couple other guys that looked like were going to play out and got a first place. So, I mean, Fensty puts out some gold too.
Oh yeah. And didn't have to worry about that knee surgery after that big win.
No.
There you go.
It's a good way to sum it. F the knee. I just made bank. I can dig.
Those some good meds post-surgery with that type of win.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can sit and enjoy. Just give them to me, Doc. I don't even care. Just feed them.
Although there were a couple contests I played post-surgery that I don't remember playing or building lineups for and gave some money back at that point too. So,
but you know what? Let that be a lesson because Jeff talks about this all the time, right? And people laugh and brush it off. Don't do your drafts drunk or high. Don't do your lineups drunk or high. Don't get all wasted. You do not make good judgment calls.
You'll burn it.
Straight up. That's why, people I know love the gut shots and stuff, but when I'm not feeling it, I can't put it out there. It's when your mind's not in that compartment, if you will, you can't force it.
You're not logically going through the right type of analysis. There's a difference between playing loose and building a lineup that you're not scared to throw out there that's got some question marks, and another difference, and compare that to just being reckless with just building based off of, gut shots while you're not in a stable frame of mind.
So, play sober and you'll get over. And by getting over, I mean the competition.
There you go. Hey, host the draft. Host your drafts and feed them all sorts of booze and don't drink any booze. Watch what happens. You end up having to clean up the mess. Just be mindful of that.
Yeah. Should we talk about, speaking of messes, should we clean up the mess that was the racing at the Charlotte Roval this past weekend, fellas?
Before we do that, can I get a show of hands? Who wants to see the Roval go bye-bye?
I'm kind of iffy about it.
Just messy.
Well, then you lead us off, Sean, because Mark and I are already I already know where we're headed with it. So you lead us off on the Roval talk here, buddy.
So as far as the Roval is concerned, I do not 100% hate this track. I do think there is some interesting elements to it. But what I do think, though, is that I think they should take this concept and put it towards a different track and try it there instead. Maybe with a different layout.
My beef with it is there's only one, in my mind, there's only one, I guess, two Rovals. And if you've watched Ford v Ferrari, you know what I'm talking about. It's Daytona, Talladega are the only ones that we've always had that way. And it was designed for the road racing. They brought them to the track for the 24 hours of Daytona. I don't even think we do it at Dega anymore. Did we ever do it at Dega? I feel like we did.
If it was a long time ago.
Yeah, like maybe it was just in the 60s. So maybe I have that wrong. But if we did it and we did do it at Daytona instead of the Busch, we already have 2 races at Daytona, so I don't see that happening. But to me, it's just like the racing got stagnant at Charlotte years ago. So their solution was, well, let's do what they've done at Daytona and we'll put it in here in Charlotte and it'll be exciting. It's something different. And hat tip to the Smiths for trying that, because I was one to really bash the cookie cutters, but I feel like we created something that didn't need to be created.
At this point, though, I do think, though, that the initial excitement over the fact of it being new has kind of lost it for me, though, at this point, though, too. I will give it that.
And here's my biggest beef of the weekend, Sean. We run Charlotte Coke 600 under the lights. That's been a long time. Ever since they put lights up there, the Coke 600 or the World 600 has moved to, later in the day after the Indy 500, all that sort of stuff. Yet we put the trucks out there for a race. They've never been there before at 3:30 local time, East Coast, which meant those of us who aren't on the East Coast, there was virtually no way we were going to tune in. And even those of us on the East Coast, you had to take a day off of work to go to this race.
Yeah, I do not get the logic behind this one at all. Not a good move. Not a good move at all. Charlotte has lights. You should have just thrown the race at night if you're going to do that.
That's where my confusion is. How much more lights did you really need to put in the infield to make it work? I'm confused.
I don't really get it, Rich. But as far as the Truck Series race is concerned, Tricon Garage just dominated that entire race right there anyway. I mean, we saw Corey Heim get the victory, but Tricon Garage, though, they had a 1-2-3 finish right there, which is the first time in that team's history. So you had Heim winning it. He beat out Brent Cruz, and then Gio Ruggiero finished out the 1-2-3 finish at third.
Not shocked by Gio. Pretty impressed with Brent Cruz. Brent Cruz is a young, I want to say he's cut most of his teeth on dirt ovals, Sean. I swear that's where I had looked him up the last time we went looking for Brent Cruz. Maybe I've got him wrong and getting him confused with Meyer. But that was both. And Corey Day, I heard, didn't look terrible either. Well, I guess that was Xfinity he was in. But, that's another dirt oval guy that I heard was respectable. But hat tip to the young man, Brent Cruz. And I'm assuming, Sean, is Brent Cruz full-time next year with Tricon?
That we do not know. That has not been confirmed yet. And as far as his plans for next year are concerned, he has not confirmed what he's doing yet.
Man, they need to get him signed. That's another up. It's no Connor Zilic or anything like that, but if you need a guy like Heim for 3 to 4 years from now, you need to give Brent Cruz a strong look, in my opinion.
Although I will say that I'm pretty sure there's a pretty good idea that we already know who's replacing Heim. So,
well, that we know it's Caden Honeycutt, right?
Yeah,
but
pretty much all but confirmed.
Right, but I guess what I'm coming from is Ty Gibbs, Heim, and Daniel Dye all kind of came through ARC about the same time and all got hooked up with these teams and signed to kind of longer-term deals. Brent Cruz, in my opinion, is that guy. I'm with you. Caden Honeycutt's in the 11. We should watch out for him. I'm excited to see him in good equipment. But if I was looking for a young up-and-coming driver to hook my wagon to and hopefully, have a prosperous future, Brent Cruz is on that short list, in my opinion.
I think Cruz definitely has to be considered. You know what? I'm thinking that if there's yet another opening in Tricon, that I think they're going to be he's going to be the first driver they're going to call to get one of those trucks. Right.
None of the other drivers on the one this year were worth a snot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, what? You had Tanner Gray, Tony Breidinger, and then you had the rotating one truck. Yeah. That's
what I was talking about, the one, because he was in the one. It was the rotating one truck with who was Tory last year, and they just had all these different drivers, and no one really flourished in it. Tanner did all right in, his 15, the number 15 truck. He is.
And then they have Gio, too.
Yeah,
Gio is their next long-term project for sure.
Right. And Gio's got a bright future, but he's a little over his skis right now.
He's doing about as good as Taylor Gray was doing in that truck when Taylor used to run that. I'd argue.
I disagree with that. I feel like Taylor did a much better job, but Gio, is this his first full-time year, I think?
True. This is Gio's first full-time season, but he has been showing a lot of speed in the second half of the year.
He has flashed speed throughout the year. You and I have talked about it. I think Mark and I talked about it the one episode too. He's flashed the speed. The problem is he keeps getting over his skis and wrecking. Now, he hasn't been wrecking as much, to your point, Sean, the second half. So I'll be curious to see, but I do have high. Because I want to say Brent Cruz is not even 18, so he may not be able to drive a full season in trucks.
Yeah, he's currently 17.
Yeah, so I don't think he can sign it because you have to be. Is it 18 or 20 to be able to drive on the big tracks?
It's 18. It's 18. You gotta be.
So, we'll have to watch. That's gonna be one to watch.
Yeah, I think it is going to be interesting to see how Brent is going to address it, though. After all, he is going to be turning 18 in the earlier part of next year, March 30th, particularly. So even for like the first month or so, he may not be able to run all the races. But I imagine once he gets there, they're going to probably try to get him in as much races as possible.
Poor guy's going to be in a wreck fest at ARCA Daytona. And then he's going to end up doing the same thing at I'm trying to think. ARCA's got another one. Probably. I'm trying to think who it was after that. Was it Vegas? Maybe I'll have to go back and look. But poor Brent Cruz is going to end up winning or being involved in a nasty wreck at the ARCA Daytona race. Book it now.
Well, we'll see what happens, and if that does happen, we'll come back to this and clip it. But anyway, Mark, what did you think of the truck race? And you got the chance to also witness the Xfinity race, correct?
Yeah, I was going to say I personally didn't watch the trucks race this past weekend. It honestly just, like you guys said, with the timing and everything, just completely went over my radar. So, but I locked in on the Xfinity race, and Zilic, obviously that was impressive. 61 laps led. You had some other guys too. Kaz Gralla. I think some of these names. It's if I'm going to mine from the experience at all, it's some of these guys who specialize in these types of courses. You always just have to remember it from a DFS perspective. I know we've talked about that before, but oftentimes you get these value plays that specialize in certain tracks, and that's how you can kind of fill out the rest of your lineup because they're banking on doing well to come back and continue doing well. So, him, I think the other guy was, who was I also thinking of? Balicki. Balicki actually fell off towards the end of that race. The biggest surprise to me from an Xfinity standpoint, Sam Mayer had really good numbers going into this race, and he barely cracked the top 20 in a playoff situation. So,
yeah,
I don't know. That was really surprising to me. I thought Sam Mayer, would have a better showing, but unfortunately, that didn't play out. But then again, you got names like Ellis and Sage Karam. Am I saying that right? Karam?
Sage Karam.
Sage Karam.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of those guys, they held their position, but it's like Sage Karam's like $4,600. So it's like, to get 25th place, it's pretty good, I guess. So, overall, I just didn't really enjoy the type of racing. And I went back and watched, we'll talk about Cup here in a minute too, but I just feel like the Roval's sloppy, man. Like the turns, especially at the beginning of the course, I don't like that. It's just awkward, I feel like. And to put that much weight into a course like that on an elimination race is what I didn't like about it overall. I just felt like there was way too much weight on the Roval when you got a guy like SVG who's already out of it, right? Yep. It just put it at the beginning of the playoffs. I don't know. Don't make it an elimination race. I feel like those are a couple small tweaks that you can do to this to not have something like that play out. But
I can get behind that right there with putting it as a non-elimination race. I think that would make things more interesting, especially you make it kind of like a bit more like a Talladega-ish kind of situation where it's a wild card race where it's coming, but you don't have to put all your chips into doing well into this race in order to advance too.
If they're going to have a road race in the playoffs, I wish it would be one of the mainstays. Sonoma, Watkins Glen, something like that.
Sonoma would be fun.
Cool, right? Yeah. It's just gimmicky. And the timing of it and all of that. And I'm with you, Sean. It very much stinks of when they had Dega as an elimination race. Again, what is NASCAR trying to do? Manufacture drama. They don't even beat around the bush about it, right? They just openly say that's what they want to do. And then they're mad when the teams try to maximize their positions and abilities. Like, NASCAR couldn't be more half pregnant on everything when it comes to this playoffs. So, and we were talking about Sam Mayer there, Mark. That's the exact same thing we saw with Joey Logano. Joey Logano had 6 top 10s out of 7 races here, much like Sam Mayer, seemed like a lock to be. And it's not like Joey hasn't been okay on some of the road courses. The speed we've seen lacking hasn't been at the short tracks or some of these other places. It's been at, the 1.5 mile ovals. And yet he was nowhere to be seen all race long.
Yeah, Joey just had no speed whatsoever, really. I mean, even though he was able to get around towards the top 15 and basically be borderline top 10 at times, he just did not really have it like, say, Ross Chastain did there, who had top 10 speed and flashed it throughout the race. But man, oh man, without Ross, he really screwed himself over.
I was going to say,
that race.
I don't know if you guys know this, but when you exit pit road, if you don't actually get onto the racing surface, it's a problem.
Big time.
I mean,
we saw it right there.
He straight up said, I forgot to turn. He straight up, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to dog the guy because I'm sure it was high pressure, high stress. But holy crap, man. Your job is to race. You're telling me you couldn't remember? I mean, all the other cars were turning left. Where were you going?
I've never seen that before.
Mark, I've been watching this.
Leave it to Ross Chastain too to do something contrarian like that.
Yeah, there you go.
I've been watching this sport for 40 years, Mark. I've seen guys miss entry, right? I mean, we've seen that a time or two. I have never seen anybody not exit pit road properly. That was a first for me.
Definitely a first. And then he ended up shooting himself in the foot even more when he got that pit road penalty late.
That didn't help. I mean, he made at least 3 mental mistakes that I counted and that he referenced in his interview that were just brutal. I mean, like he said, the big thing is he's got to go apologize to his team. And that's why, we were talking about before the show. I do not understand the Denny Hamlin hate. And a perfect example of why I don't understand that, watch his interview. He straight up said he didn't really want to be involved and he may have done something different had he known the situation Ross was in. Then you see him put his arm around Ross. He never got mad at Ross for dumping him or getting into him at the end of the race. Denny wasn't even mad at Austin Dillon last year when it happened, while Joey Logano was crying like a little baby. So I really don't understand the hate that's out there. And I really appreciated the moment that Ross and Denny had there. I love the fact that Denny was like, they turned away from the cameras. They had their little discussion. And to this day, none of us know what was said. So hat tip to both Ross and Denny on that. I don't know, Sean. I could do without. If we're going to do road racing, I think Sonoma would be a great place to be. And I'm with you both. It should not be an elimination race.
Yeah. Also, to elaborate further on the Denny and Ross conversation, Denny did describe it a little bit in his pod this week in Actions Detrimental. And then he basically was saying he went up to Ross and instead of just trying to go and look towards him with anger like he's done with the past, since he's now grown to respect Ross as a competitor now, he was just simply there just talking to Ross and was like, what happened there? What was the situation right like that? Why did you pull the move that you did? And then they just had a pretty simple conversation about it. And that was it.
Right. No, and that's the other reason I love Denny. I love his podcast. I mean, you want to talk about a peek behind the scenes between him and Dale Jr.'s podcast, you get a great look.
Oh, absolutely. Great listening on both pods right there. That is for sure. But I will say this because I put this in as a comment in our rundown document today about Joey Logano. How does Logano keep doing this? This isn't even numbered year, Joey. What the hell is going on here?
I love the fact that when they were interviewing him, he got booed. Are those boos for me? Yes, Joey. They're for you, buddy.
Yeah, they definitely are.
How shocked someone doesn't. He's shocked that people don't like him.
Yeah, that's what's so funny. He's like, the boos for me? Like, Joey.
Like, what?
What? There's a lot of people that, although, did you guys see the video that went around of him and the wife in the Mustang peeling out of the driveway as they were running late for something or whatever? Did you guys see that?
I did not catch that video.
Oh my gosh, it was hilarious because here comes Joey up the driveway, whipping the car sideways, gets it whipped around. She hops in. It's something. The title was something like when the babysitter arrives and it's date night or something like that. And I mean, he's got the car just sideways leaving the driveway. Like, mad props for the car control because it's not like there's a lot of wiggle room that he's kicking this car sideways and driving it down the driveway and like that. But it was like, Joey, if you just shut your mouth and did like this, we wouldn't boo you.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, there you go. It's still though. It's not an even numbered year, so I'm still gonna put my bet against him to not win it this year.
That guy just keeps limping in, and the sad thing is, this as well as I do. Whatever Penske cars makes it in there at Phoenix, they've got a legitimate shot. I don't care if it's Blaney or Joey.
I hope Christopher Bell makes it in because I think he might be the only one fast enough to counteract those two. Wow. But even then, that's debatable.
Well, I'm done with the Roval. I hope it's gone. We'll see. Horsepower's coming. Changes are coming. We know this, so we'll see.
Before we move on and go away from our talks about the Roval, first of all, two things. Back to Xfinity, shout out to Austin Green getting the runner-up finish right there. That was impressive right there. And second of all, this is the part of the show where I'm just going to sit here and brag because there is a bunch of DFS and betting picks made by yours truly that ended up hitting over this past week at the Roval right there.
Let's hear 'em.
Saw some screenshots in the Discord too, so a lot of people feeling.
Even on this very pod, last week I called the following. SVG the win at -105. Ryan Preece to get a top 10 at +240. Kyle Larson to get a top 5 at +110. And Christopher Bell to get a top 5 at +130. And Chris Buescher to be the top 4 driver at +190.
Damn.
All of those hit.
Damn.
Is there smoke behind you? Because you look like you're on fire there, Sean.
And then, even on top of echoing these bets again in our Discord there for Fantasy Guru, there's a few other call-outs made there with Chris Buescher getting a top 5 and top 10. The top 5 odds for Chris Buescher on race day was +320 for top 5. He ended up getting that right there. And then I successfully called 2 head-to-head bets with Alex Bowman beating Kyle Busch at -130 and Chris Buescher being Chase Briscoe at -130. And then to top this all off, guys, I ended up mentioning one of a few different parlays in the chat. It ended up hitting right there between these 2 group winner bets. So with group 1, one of the picks I made was Kyle Larson to win over Seabell, Ty Gibbs, and Chase Elliott at +225. Ooh. Then the second one was the group 2 winner bet right there with Chris Buescher getting it over William Byron, Michael McDowell, and Chase Briscoe at +265. If you grouped those 2 group winner bets together, that was at odds of +1086 right there.
That's a lot of money.
So
bravo, that's fucking awesome.
I have to brag about that because the Roval is one of the harder tracks to predict right there too. So I'm tooting my own horn with this.
I love it.
Hopefully we can deliver some more heat this week right there with Vegas. But we got a few more things to go through before we hit that. Let's talk about some news, fellas. I know Rich kind of implied and hinted at this earlier in the show not too long ago, just a few minutes ago. But NASCAR did officially confirm this. They are increasing the horsepower for the Cup Series in 2026 on select tracks. Not every track, select tracks.
I.e. short tracks. Let's be honest.
Not we already know short tracks, actually.
Oh,
they
really?
Said they're doing this on the road courses as well. Short tracks and road courses.
The short tracks and the road courses have the same package, though. So, in my mind, it's all a part of the same. But, it's not because I don't give a crap about road courses as a general rule. But this is what we've been begging for on the short tracks. And they have already been playing around with the tire compounds. We had definitely seen some tire wear. Has it gone a little too far? Maybe. I don't know. Goodyear will get it figured out. I'm confident in that. But I thought this was too expensive, Sean. I thought this was no way they could do this. I wonder what changed.
Well, when they were finally, they got the engine builders behind them, and then they were like, oh, yeah, now we know that the engine's capable of, we could easily do 750. It's no problem. So then they're like, all right, well, let's finally try this next season. So they're going to put 750 on all those different tracks. And then NASCAR themselves has said, depending on how the results of this experiment goes for next season, they might start to expand it on the other tracks too.
So I have a theory on why we're seeing a whole bunch of scuttlebutt about things that fans have been clamoring for that are trying to make a comeback. Are you curious to this theory at all?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I'm sure Mark wants to hear it too. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah, I'm very curious.
NASCAR is in a massive PR battle right now. I think they overshot their wad with this lawsuit with 2311 Michael Jordan in front row. And while Denny Hamlin's a villain, and there's plenty of people out there that just want to see Hamlin get crushed with this whole lawsuit, the facts of the matter are there are legitimate concerns and legitimate complaints. Whether people want to argue with me and tell me I don't use common sense or I don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you about some antitrust things or monopoly rulings, okay? General Mills merged. They bought out Pillsbury. They ended up with a whole bunch of cake mixes, right? Because Pillsbury has cake mixes. Betty Crocker, which is General Mills, has cake mixes. And, of course, there's other cake mixes out there. Well, when General Mills bought Pillsbury, They had the cake mixes between Pillsbury and Betty Crocker cake mixes. They had approximately 53 to 56% market share. The government came in and said, that's a monopoly. You need to sell off the Pillsbury cake mixes. Now, if 56% in that industry is a monopoly, why isn't 67% a monopoly in, say, telecommunications, where AT&T at one point owned DirecTV and Uverse, where in marketplaces, that was 2/3 of your options? Well, because it wasn't that way nationwide, the government gets funky on this. My point being is, none of us, if you're going to sit there and say there is no monopoly, you can't say that. There is not another stock car, big dollar racing series out there. Brad Keselowski tried to allude to SRX, but it's not the same, and it's nowhere close to the same, and it's already defunct. So anyone can talk about the monopolies and everything else. Antitrust is a massive pit, massive rabbit hole. Even antitrust attorneys will tell you how sketchy it is. But I find it interesting that so far in the last 3 months, NASCAR has basically assured 2311 in front row that they're guaranteed spots, and that won't change the rest of the year because they changed the rules mid-season again for points. They have now talked about ending the playoffs, which is what fans have been clamoring for quite a while. And all of a sudden, over the last, month, this has really picked up steam, 2 weeks even. Then you've got this deal with the horsepower that we were told 6 months ago, 8 months ago, wasn't feasible. It was off the table, not an option. Quit talking about it. To about 2 months ago, we heard everything's back on the table. We're re-looking at it. So now NASCAR has begged the court to more or less have court-appointed mediation done. Typically, from what I'm understanding from people who do this, lawyers, when you ask for something like that, it's because you really want mediation to be successful. Why would you want mediation to be successful? You're either fearful your case doesn't hold up very well, or, hear me out on this one, or you don't want the case to go to discovery. See, NASCAR doesn't want discovery to take place in this lawsuit because they don't want the peons like us knowing some of the ins and outs and details. See, right now, NASCAR has people convinced that the teams are being greedy, even though on paper, the teams aren't showing profits. I had a guy come at me online. They got $1 million jets. Well, first of all, not all of them do. Second of all, there's plenty of not-for-profits with $1 million CEOs. They are still not-for-profits. So don't start assuming just because they have big expenses, they have big profits. Dale Jr. has been very open on air. Nobody makes money in racing. The reason they haven't gone to Cup, he's too fearful of the money loss. It's manageable in Xfinity. It's not at the Cup level currently. And what's interesting to me is NASCAR basically begged all the teams. Did you guys see all the letters that the team sent out?
Oh, yeah, I did see that actually online.
So there's two things that really jumped out at me. One, how every single letter ended, Sean. Did you notice that?
Yeah, definitely. It's all the same, too.
I'm saying this of my own free will. Literally, that's how every single letter ends. I am saying this of my own free will. I am such and such, blah, 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 blah. Mark's laughing. Go. I'll get you the link, Mark. 10 letters. All 10 letters. The last paragraph starts the exact same way. I am
the only thing
this of my own free will.
All of them is who's signing it there.
Yes. I kid you not, Mark. So now all the teams released all this. And in all fairness, NASCAR asked for this, by the way. So they released all these statements. Well, if you read the statements, I don't read from them, my God, we love you, NASCAR. You do everything perfect for us. What I read was, NASCAR, we have a lot of respect for you. You've done a fabulous job. You've given this phenomenal opportunity to us all. We don't want that to go away. You need to make charters permanent, or we got problems. That's what I took from those letters, Sean. Am I off base in your opinion?
Pretty on base, actually, in this one.
So NASCAR is fighting a PR battle right now. They don't want this going to Discovery because they don't want the fans seeing it. And they want the fans on their side so that they have some leverage come the negotiation and mediation time. That's what all of this about. NASCAR is doing everything they can to save face with the fans. And
keep in mind, too, there's no other big court battles that have to do with NASCAR right now, now that the whole Rick Ware Racing Legacy Motor Club thing got settled, too. So all the attention NASCAR-wise is going to be on this.
And here's the deal. In less than 2 months, we because it's public at that point. We get access to all these text messages, all these emails, all the numbers, the money that supposedly doesn't exist. All of that stuff gets submitted during discovery. December 1 is when that trial takes place. They need this to stop before December 1.
That's why they're trying to do the whole settlement conference thing later this month. The 24th,
with it being overseen by a magistrate judge or someone from the court. They aren't just doing it normal mediation style, which does not necessarily have anyone oversee it. It's typically the lawyers hashing it out and then going to the judge and saying, this is what we want. Now they want someone over watching this.
Yeah, they certainly do. And we didn't mean for this to turn into NASCAR right here, but
no, my bad.
But there we go. It does kind of connect to this, though, in a way, though, too. But either way, we're getting more horsepower on select tracks, and that's the big takeaway that I wanted to bring it forth today. Now, we do have a few other racing-related headlines right here. This was the big one that also came out today, other than the horsepower, like the next biggest thing. It's official. Harrison Burton is not returning to AM racing in 2026. The two have agreed to mutually part ways at the end of the year. So what are your first thoughts on this Xfinity news, guys?
Who's offered Burton a ride?
Well, I do have a pretty good theory on what that may be, but what do you guys think first?
No, that I'm saying my gut feeling is if it's amicable, they both split. Burton must have a couple of Xfinity opportunities with good rides.
What do you think, Mark?
I don't know. I mean, who does Jeb Burton drive for?
Jordan Anderson Racing.
You think that could be an option? I feel like those two get, no?
I don't think that's
not
where
good enough
he's
equipment. Going. Not good enough equipment, in my opinion.
Really? You think Harrison Burton's that good of a driver at this point?
I would say
underwhelmed.
Well, I would argue he way overperformed the equipment.
Okay. I mean,
that would be my argument. To do what he did to fight to get into the playoffs and everything else, you're talking about a car that I don't think before Burton got into it ever sniffed the playoffs.
The closest it got was when Brett Moffitt was driving for that team.
Who is a stud, by the way. He was a dominant truck driver.
And basically, he was getting that car to fight for a playoff spot on points until he ran out of funding to bring for the ride and had to get kicked out of it.
Wow.
And then, I was going to say the year before, that's when Haley Deegan was in the car, and it was basically, last in points?
30th? I mean, dead serious,
all the
30th
full-time
plus.
entries.
Yeah. So, my guess is Burton's got an opportunity. He's working out with teams like Spire. Who's the colleague? Spire, colleague, maybe JRM. They do have an open spot. I know they want to get that 9 car back on the track.
So you want to hear where I think some other rumors are saying he's apparently going?
Hit me.
Sam Hunt Racing.
Ugh, really?
Yeah, to reunite back with Toyota because he does have a relationship with Toyota right there. And I don't know if this is because Sam Hunt's opening a second team or if he's replacing Dean Thompson in the ride. But sources are saying that he's apparently slated to go back there.
Why? That is not a top quality ride.
Maybe he's not getting top quality offers.
He must not be, Mark. I would say you're spot on with that.
Yeah, and being a part of the Toyota pipeline right there, I mean, at the very least, would you consider Harrison an upgrade over Dean Thompson, though?
Yes. Thompson's shown speed, but he is so kamikaze-like. I don't think he's beneficial to teams. I mean, there's something to be said about bringing race cars home in one piece and how that helps you build faster race cars.
And Harrison did do a lot of that this past year. That's been one of his strongest points so far with AM Racing was that he kept bringing the cars home, and he just didn't have too many terrible days. Like, we're talking about like 30th place finishes on back. Like, he usually finished between like the 25th to top 20 range, and that's what helped get him in the playoffs over some of the other drivers that kept ending up having days where they just couldn't bring it fully home, and that was the difference right there. So
interesting.
I feel like Thompson, I'd have to go back and look, but I feel like he had a lot of bright spots this season too. But
He
again,
does.
I just don't have it's hard for me, I think, still to have an understanding of the driver talent versus the equipment. I think that's probably the multi-million-dollar question in a lot of scenarios as well. But it's hard for me to tell the talent difference between, like a guy like Harrison Burton and Dean Thompson at this point.
Let me put it to you this way, Mark. A couple of years ago, I was much higher on Dean Thompson, and he has continued to, I wouldn't say step on his own shoes, but for every time there's a flash of brilliance, there's 3 flashes of stupidity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
the moment you start to count on him
is when he falls off.
Whereas like, when Corey Heim doesn't have the top truck, it still comes home in the top 10, right? When Dean Thompson has a good truck, it finishes in the top 10. When he doesn't, he wrecks. Another driver that reminds me of, why am I Alan? Sean, it's the guy I always said that was my Achilles heel, because every time I want to use
Lawless Allen, because I think that's what you're about to say.
Yes, that's exactly it. Lawless. He reminds me a lot of Lawless Allen.
Yeah, and then Lawless Allen ended up dropping back down to ARCA this past year.
Right.
That being said, though, about Dean Thompson, he does have his moments, though, where he's at least done some decent finishes here and there. And I'd argue he's at least been a little bit cleaner this season than he has within, like, say, his last truck season or two. Because at some points in the year, he was actually kind of in the hunt of getting the playoffs for Xfinity on points there. He wasn't too far back.
Nope, I agree with you.
So there's, again, just don't know if this is the case where Sam Hunt's opening 2 teams for full-time purposes or not. So we'll have to wait to hear more. But that's where I think he's going, and that's where rumors are pointing towards where he's going. But speaking of rumors, how about this one for the Cup Series? And this one probably is not much of a surprise when you really think about it logistically. But Spire Motorsports, could they be pursuing Kyle Busch next? So
that's as close as Kyle Busch is going to be to Hendrick Equipment.
Again, you mean?
Yes. Because, I mean, I'm sorry. I should just assume everybody knows he got fired from the 5 car. But this will be, because people are like, can he come back to Rick Hendrick? And Rick's like, we like Kyle. The closest Kyle will ever be to a Hendrick Motorsports vehicle again will be through a satellite team like Spire.
Yeah, I do think that's pretty valid right there. But for context, though, let me bring some context on why this has come up again. So Kevin Harvick's podcast Happy Hour. He recently had Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports on right there, and Harvick asked Bob about Spire Motorsports, because we know that number 7 car is on that bit of a hot seat with Justin Haley as it is. And Bob said that even though there's been some names poured out there that we've already discussed, like Daniel Suarez, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and all that, one other name he did throw out there was Kyle Busch as well. Even though the thing is that Kyle Busch already has a deal linked for 2026 to still be in that 8 car for RCR one more year. Bob was saying that they might potentially look towards Kyle for 2027 potentially.
I just feel like Kyle Busch is washed, man. Like, I don't know. Do you guys feel like almost every race this season, it's like he blew a tire at some point?
I don't think he's washed. I think Kyle's strength has been nerfed with the current NASCAR policies in this car. Okay. 1, he doesn't do sims. Him and Kyle Larson have been very open about they don't do sims. They have not felt it works for them. They have not felt it helps them. That doesn't shock me for 2 drivers that I would argue are probably the most talented from a true racer's perspective. Those two guys drive with their butts. And what I mean by that is they have to feel the car. You know, they know exactly where that edge is as they're sliding around. They know exactly where they can go with it. A perfect example I could give you, Mark, Jeff Gordon went from dominating to really struggling when they changed tires. We saw the same thing happen with, was it Darrell Waltrip or Sr.? One of them talked about it when they went to radials, right? Or they moved away from the radials. It took a long time because everything felt different. On top of that, Kyle was notoriously really good at driving deeper into corners than everybody else and making it work. Well, with all the data that all the teams have, they know exactly where he is letting off at. They know exactly where he's getting on throttle. So instead of having to be like Carl Edwards behind him going, hey, he pulled away from me, I can hear him on the gas, I can't get on the gas at the same point. It's all done by telemetry and computer, and now everybody, there's no secrets.
Yeah.
So I would argue, I don't think he's washed. You nerfed his, I don't want to say skill, but you nerfed his top level, his edge, while bringing up the ability of all the other people that didn't have that edge.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that he's not driving for Joe Gibbs Racing anymore, too. He's with RCR as well.
Well,
and they're not as strong of a team.
Did you guys see Chase Briscoe's interview earlier about a month ago? And he was talking to Martin Truex. And Truex told him, he goes, get ready, it's going to be different. And Briscoe's like, I mean, it's a race car, what's different? And he said in the interview, he goes, no, it's taken me well over half the year to learn to drive these cars differently. And he goes, what I mean by that, he goes, I don't want to take away from what I had at Haas. He goes, but everything about this car with Joe Gibbs is better. It's faster. It accelerates better. It corners more. It sticks more. The tires wear differently. He goes, these were all these things that I had to get used to that I didn't have before. So now do the reverse of that. Kyle went from that top notch to, we got to be honest, outside of Austin Dillon at Richmond, RCR has not had speed damn near since Kevin Harvick's rookie season.
That might be a good point from a DFS perspective going into new seasons too, is just keeping in mind, you know, hey, which drivers are going into new cars? You might want to avoid those guys at the beginning of the season until you see the dust kind of settle and let them kind of figure out their new rides here.
I think that's a brilliant point because a lot of us were really on Briscoe early and it bit us, right? But if you stuck with it, it's like those stash players for football. Once they learn the playbook and they get in with the coaches, all of a sudden you go from zeros to a whole lot of hero days, right? And we're seeing that with Briscoe. I mean, he advanced. I don't think any of us really expected him to advance to this round of 8.
Well, if you went from the first half of the year, you certainly didn't. You may have expected him to maybe sneak into the playoffs. Yeah, right. But him performing as well as he has this season, no, I don't think anybody was going to think that he's been on this sort of level where you even look through the first half of the playoffs. He was the only driver to finish top 10 in all those races right there. The first 5 races of the playoffs. And you think back towards when he last made the playoffs in the Stewart-Haas Racing equipment, or not the last time, but the previous time before that in 2022, I believe, where he made it all the way to the round of 8. He barely made it into the round of 8 that year. But this year, he made that round absolutely without too much of an issue right there. Even when he was worried about the Roval right there, he still was able to point his way in, no problem. And now when you think about it, some people out there, some NASCAR analysts say that he's probably the biggest dark horse in order to maybe win the championship this year if circumstances line up.
I don't think there's been anyone better from a fuel saving standpoint. I mean, you know, he's been pretty good managing tires too. So it's like, you know, he's definitely winning categories outright amongst the entire field. And so I think when you're looking for a dark horse candidate, that's something to consider.
Not only that, 2 of the probably most important tracks that we're going to go to that are going to help people get into the next round and in the championship round itself, he's run very well at. And that goes back to even when he was with Stewart-Haas. He was respectable at Phoenix before. And now he's got, you know, we've seen what Bell can do there. We've seen what Truex can do there. And don't get me wrong, Harvick dominated Phoenix for a while. So there were some things that they were able to take over, you know, when he was there at Stewart-Haas. But if the Penske guys aren't there, I'll be the first to admit Chase Briscoe and Bell are probably the best two bets to win that event. And if Penske is in it, obviously, we got to consider them. But Briscoe and Bell, they made a point to, because that was one of the few races we kind of were like, oh, Briscoe's showing a little bit of hope here, right? And then it kind of faded there. But I see it. I mean, there's only 8 drivers left. Is Joey really a dark horse?
Well, Joey's got a bit of an uphill battle to climb because he's starting out with the biggest points deficit of all those drivers. He's minus 24 right from the jump. So unless he's winning at one of these 3 races, he's got his work cut out for him in order to make it back to Phoenix right there.
His wins come in bunches, though, man. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he won this weekend. It's just the way Logano works.
I'm with you, but I tell you what's alarming. Why did they lack so much speed this weekend? Because Blaney didn't. And to be a guy that's had 2 top 5s and 6 out of 7 top 10s, how were you so – because like Sean said, outside of the way pit stops fell and him sniffing 12th place, that was about as best as he was all day. Once they got tires and they're like, hey, we're not going to do it. We got to get tires and try to race our way forward. Ross moved forward. Joey didn't move anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's why I think really, if you look at Logano, I think he's going to really be factoring in the wild card that is Talladega in order to get past this round too.
He does run well there. There is no driver better about blocking 3 lanes of traffic than Joey Logano.
Now the question is, can he finish there?
There's also nobody better than Joey Logano when it comes to causing a wreck from the lead.
I feel like we talk about that every single time we go to one of these tracks. We have to bring that conversation up.
In all seriousness, he really does do a better job than Ricky Stenhouse is in that ballpark. I know people like to call him Recky, but if you watch him when he's at the front, he's in the ballpark of Joey. Brad's in that ballpark too, but nobody does as good of a job of blocking multiple lanes of traffic as a leader at those super speedways than Joey Logano. I mean, he really is good at it. It also leads to some massive wrecks.
Oh, definitely for sure. But the Logano question, though, I'm still betting against it, though, because it's not an even numbered year.
Look, man, I ain't going to fault you for that. Just saying.
And I'm also just going to bring this up for context, too. I did an article that previewed the entire playoffs before the playoffs began. And Chase Briscoe, he was about 20-1 or 25-1 odds in order to win the title at the beginning of the playoffs right there. And I'm just going to say it's not a bad looking bet right now.
It's probably closer to 6-1.
Yeah, he was deeper right when the playoffs began. But if you look towards right now, let me bring that up right here. He's plus 900 to win the title.
So 9-1. He's 9-1 now.
Yep. Joey's the deepest at 10-1 as it stands right now.
And William Byron's sitting there at plus 600. I like that one too.
That's not a bad one. It's
not a bad one to consider too.
Where's Bell at? Plus 500?
Yeah, right on the dot. You nailed it.
I told you I could set some of these lines, man.
There you go.
Jeff just needs to launch a book. I know he wants to, but we can't produce content then. But if he launched a book, I'm telling you, we could set the NASCAR lines and eat well.
Yeah, because there's certainly a line or two this week even, and that's a tease for later that I literally am just like, what the... I don't even get it. I don't get it. But before we get into the preview for this week's race, just one small reminder for the next 7 days. NASCAR 25, the game, will be out on October 14th.
Get the Gold Vision. You can start playing October 11th like I will.
What is it?
Go.
NASCAR 25 is coming out on PlayStation, Xbox, and all that. If you buy the Gold Edition, you get the Season Pass, which I usually do anyway because it comes with the DLCs you end up buying later anyhow, and you save probably $5-10 if you buy this the package at the beginning. But if you get the gold package, if you get the gold package, you get the season pass, but you also get early release, which means we will be able to play October 11th.
Shit, that's Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go.
We got to have like a Fantasy Guru subscriber league or something on there. See if we can get some subs.
I'll be game, but I'm anal, man. I don't take getting bumped around very well. I don't. I will drive you clean and give you lanes, but you start riding in my door and up my butt, boy, I snap, man. I will turn around and punch you.
The question is, which drivers is everyone going to go with? That'll be.
Oh, I make my own. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. You can make your own guy. Okay.
Well,
yeah, there's the option to do that.
Yeah, there's always the option for that. And when you race online, you go with your PlayStation handle. So my PlayStation handle is Edith.
But yeah, wanted to bring that reminder up because by the time we do this podcast next week, the game is going to be officially out on all platforms. So there you go. And if you already pre-ordered it through PlayStation on the digital store and the PlayStation store, you can actually auto-download the game right now. So that way, when the game becomes unlocked for whenever you get the gold edition on Saturday or the regular edition on the 14th, you'll be able to just hit play and the game starts, and you won't have to wait for it to download.
Awesome.
What you can do on PlayStation, because I do this, I don't know that it's downloaded yet, Sean. It's usually within like the day before. But if you put your PlayStation into rest mode and go to your settings that automatically do updates and whatnot, it will automatically do all the updates and downloads. So the big thing, though, don't do what I did on one of the games. Make sure you got enough memory. Yeah. If you don't have enough memory, move your stuff around so that because it automatically puts it on the console. It won't move it to your external, or if you put in the additional hard drive into the console itself. So make sure you've got the memory available, but it will download. And when we get off here, Sean, I'll double check because now you make me wonder if it's already downloaded. And I'm going to be really inching at the bit here if it is.
I believe the game is at somewhere between like I think 45 to 47 gigabytes of space in order to download it. So.
I deleted I moved 250 gig worth. I wasn't taking any chances.
Yeah.
I've been waiting. Mark's laughing at me, but I have been waiting for this, Mark. I kid you not.
Oh my God. Yeah. I thought it was out last week. I was looking for it.
So I've been playing World of Outlaws for the last 2 to 3 years, because that's the only good racing game I've been able to find online. I used to race with my uncles and stuff back on, PS3, maybe PS4 for sure. We have not had a good NASCAR game. Shoot, Sean. What would you say the last good one was? The original Heat? And that was even kind of meh compared to the ones before it.
I want to say maybe one of the later Heat games is all right. Maybe 3 or 4, maybe. They were at least halfway decent, but if we're talking about like a truly great game, I think you got to go way further back than that.
Yeah, you're going back to what, 09 probably?
Sean's thinking 03.
03? Yeah, that could be.
No, I'd say 05, Chase for the Cup by EA there. That's like the last truly great NASCAR game in my
That's opinion. Fair. That's fair. So, yeah, Mark, I'm anxious and I'm chomping at the bit. So I will probably have my NASCAR content done ahead of time, because I will not be shocked if I'm up to 3-4 in the morning racing.
Rich is going to be racing Las Vegas while watching Las Vegas.
I've done that before, bro. Or if it's a single game on, I will turn on like Sunday Night Football if I've got my stuff done, and I will hop on and race, because I've got a couple of buddies that always seem to hop on between 10, 11 o'clock my time. And we get a good group. We all know how each other races. We give each other a ration. We share setups. We do all the things we can to help each other be fun and competitive. So if you guys are interested, make sure you find me on PS5. I'm not joking. For any of the subscribers out there, hit me up in Discord. I will get you my PS5 name and all of that, and I will be more than happy, because I am already recruiting people, talking to people. We are getting geared up to go racing this Saturday.
The question is, do you race with like a setup, or are you just doing it straight with the controller?
So I only have a controller. I mean, you can do the steering wheel and all that. For World of Outlaws, you can do custom setups. I don't have time for that. They also do what they call sliders. And all you do is you get to choose from full tight to full loose, and it's like 12.5% increments. So like 12%, 25%, 30-some%, so on and so forth, right? That's what we do. The problem is, though, is we found if you change your controller settings, it's way easier to control the car. So when I first hopped on there, I was all over the place, and I did career and all that, and I hopped in there, and they're like, who's this freaking clown? You can't go anywhere. And I said, I've been playing this for how long? I've just only done career. I thought I'd try this. And someone goes, did anyone give you any settings? I said, no. So they sent me some settings up for the controller. All of a sudden, I could like race with them. I wasn't necessarily in last place, and it was a lot more fun. So we all know at this point the ins and outs. We will share setups. We will share controller settings. It's good to have a good group. So if you guys are wanting in and wanting around, let me know. Hit me up. We'll get you included.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's talk about the real race.
I'm pumped. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm pumped.
Yeah, because this game has so much promise behind it. So
Dale Jr.'s behind it, and iRacing, which iRacing was also behind World of Outlaws, and I really enjoyed the World of Outlaws game.
There you go. Couldn't ask for a better endorsement right there. So Mark's right, though. We should probably get towards talking about the real race. So let's talk about the real race. We're going to Las Vegas, baby. Back in Vegas. So another 1.5 mile race right here. 2 of the 3 series are going to be active this week because the trucks are taking their final off weekend for the season right here. And then basically we got just Cups and Xfinity in play for this week's race. So what should we expect? Well, it's another 1.5 mile track. We just went to one not too long ago in Kansas. So I'm expecting a few similarities to play out as far as the DFS and betting strategies are concerned as it is. We also do have one race from Vegas earlier in the season when Josh Berry was the winner of that race right there. He got his only victory for the year. So what else do you guys have to say as far as the preview this race is concerned? What should we look for in DFS and betting this week?
Well, we got a lot of laps, right? I mean, 270 laps
60,
or 267, something like that. So, we're gonna have to find some dominators and then balance our lineups out with some value plays who can give us some place differential. So I think that's something to keep an eye out for. I'm prioritizing, like the common theme is, to make sure I can squeeze in as many playoff drivers that have, good track records here as possible. So playoff drivers, dominators, place differential in the value spots. I think that's generally how I'm going to approach this race. And I think people are going to get aggressive here. So it's going to be, we're probably going to see a lot of cautions like we saw earlier this year. I'm very curious to see how manufacturers pan out this weekend because the Toyotas really struggled in this race earlier this year. So that's something also to keep in mind.
True. Very true. Interesting to note about the Toyotas right there, because in the next gen car, they are the only manufacturer to have not won a race in the Cup Series at this very track right there. Chevy's won the majority of races since 2022 at this very track. Ford has a few wins as well right there. We do remember the whole fuel mileage race last year that resulted in Joey Logano winning his way into Phoenix from this very race 1 year ago. So do keep that in mind right there. Rich, what do you think of the betting aspect of this race?
I will be completely frank with everybody. I do not have my bets in Drivers In because I am not going to mislead anybody and just shoot from the hip and guess. I have been way too deep into football. So I'm not going to mislead anybody. I half watched the races this past weekend, so I won't mislead him. I will say that I 100% support Mark's approach. There is something I do every week when I set lineups. Mark has said a couple of things. Many of them have stuck with me, but this one in particular: eat the chalk at the top, avoid the chalk at the bottom. So I will be doing that during when I set the lineups. I don't know that we're going to see a bunch of cautions, though, Mark. Historically speaking, the closer to the end of the playoffs we get, the less stupid driving we see, because the non-playoff drivers don't want to impact the playoff drivers. And of course,
drivers want to wreck out.
Right.
Yeah.
So And the thing is the less playoff drivers we have, which means we have more non-playoff drivers. The more non-playoff drivers we have, the more they want to be involved with any of it. They just sort of mind their P's and Q's, right? I do think fuel mileage will come into play.
Briscoe.
I think, yep, I was going to say, Mark brought it up already about Briscoe. I know the Toyotas did not run well there earlier. The Toyotas didn't look bad at Kansas, though. And I wouldn't say they overlap per se, Sean, but if you can get speed at Kansas, I think you can find speed at Vegas. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah. They're very similar track types. They're not exactly built one-to-one the same, but the track type is similar and the rules package is similar too.
Right. I mean, Vegas and Charlotte really remind me more of each other. Kansas, Chicagoland were more kind of sisters, if you will. But I go back to, because like you said about the package, if you can find speed at Kansas, and they did, let's be honest, the Toyotas were bad fast at Kansas.
Oh, yeah, big time.
I always think of Bell when I think of Kansas.
That's fair. And I think Bell should be on our look. I don't want to bet against any of the Joe Gibbs cars or Penske. I know Ford's been up and down at these types of tracks, but they've definitely come on this year. And, Barry won here earlier. It's the same basic equipment as the Penske guys, right? I don't want to get biased because I know how I don't want Joey to run well here, but I think you're onto something, Mark, with potential fuel mileage. And here's the deal. The less cautions we get, the more fuel mileage comes into play. Because what happens is someone will decide, we're going to see if we can make this go the rest of the way, right? We're pitting now. We're hoping it stays green flag, and we're going to make this last the rest of the way. Brad Keselowski used to be so good at that when he was with Penske, right?
And we've seen him run short a few times too, as of recent.
Indy. Yeah. Well, and think about it, Indy. Had they not gotten that weird restart with Kyle 2 years ago or last year, Brad had enough for that race, right? And he had been out there way longer than everybody else. So I don't want to discredit the Toyotas. I'm definitely going to be watching the Penskes. I couldn't even tell you who the drivers are to lean on because I didn't look. I apologize. But look, I'm going to sound like a deer. I don't want to sleep on Denny Hamlin, guys. Like, there's something different about how Hamlin's approaching this stuff. I'm not saying they win, but, man, I feel like they know exactly what they need to do, and they know where their strengths are. They knew the Roval was not a strength, and that showed up. I don't think that's the case this weekend at Vegas.
Oh, yeah. And just one more thing to mention here before we continue on. The whole race script factor with the playoffs, I think, is going to be really big when you consider some drivers have this particular race circled as the race they want to win in order to advance into the playoffs right there, because you got the other two tracks in this round being Talladega and Martinsville. Some drivers, they're only going to think that they're going to be good at this particular type of track. This is their best chance to win. They're going to put all their chips into this race, all their best equipment into it right there.
If I asked you, Sean, out of the 3 tracks coming up, you're a professional driver, which track do you think you control your own destiny the most with?
I'd say it depends on the team. It depends on what you're best at, but you're either going to say Las Vegas or Martinsville.
Right, and I would argue because of the lack of tire wear and the lack of passing we have seen with the new car at Martinsville, I feel like that's been muted. Granted, back in the day, people used to bump each other out of the way, so maybe it is a little more control your own destiny than it used to be because we used to see a lot more beating and banging. But I feel like you can get yourself into big trouble at Martinsville outside of your own control and really have a tough time coming back. Say you cut a tire on qualifying, right? We've seen that where guys get stuck at the back at the start of Martinsville. You and I, all 3 of us know this is a big hill to climb if you start in the rear, no matter how good you are. You start in the rear at Vegas, they don't mean anything.
Yeah. Talladega as well, and that isn't as big of a factor starting.
No, but at the same time, you're at the mercy of the pack. I mean, we all know that. Talladega, I don't think anybody feels like they control their own destiny.
You don't control your own destiny at Talladega unless you're somehow there within the last lap and you know you have a chance.
Exactly. So I would argue everybody who really wants to get to the next round. Now, here's the deal. Denny's good at Martinsville. So he does kind of have a fallback, if you will. But Bell, he's been okay there, right?
This is a big race
Briscoe.
for Bell. This is a really big
Bell's
one.
good everywhere. Bell's good everywhere. I'm still impressed with his interview at Bristol, and I'll die on that hill.
Briscoe. Bell, I think Bell, Martinsville is a fallback for Bell as well because he's won there in the fall before too.
That's fair.
And the same thing goes for Ryan Blaney as well.
Yes. And Blaney's been good at Talladega, but if anyone's got Dega circled, it's Joey, right?
Oh, definitely Joey. Without question, it's Joey.
I mean, and he's got the golden horseshoe. So
fair. I think the playoffs. I think when we look at this elimination race at Martinsville, it's going to be between Bell and Blaney. I don't doubt it. It's going to be between those two.
Now, in all fairness, maybe we get old Martinsville come 2 weeks from now, Sean. Right? Like, to your point, Mark, we're going to create that drama because it's an elimination race, right? Whether it's Blaney and Joey or Briscoe or Bell or whoever, I tell you what, boy, Mark, that would be, man, don't get me too excited. Blaney and Bell going at it for the last,
I can see it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Byron and Larson are going to jump Blaney, and then Bell is going to jump Blaney, and then it's going to be Bell trying to push Blaney out.
Imagine if we've got two playoff drivers battling out for like third and fourth, or 3 or 4 playoff drivers battling out for third or fourth to get into that race, man.
Especially if you get both of those Penske drivers in the hunt there, and they're teaming up. I mean, they won't be teaming up at a certain point, but
at a certain point, it's all for one. I mean, it's all for, you're all out for you, right?
Yeah, that'll be fun. But I think that, the setup for that starts this week.
Oh, yeah, big time. Because they also do mention that any driver that ends up winning the first race of the semifinal round of the playoffs ends up getting a huge preparation advantage for that final race right there. And we've seen it being a difference maker in the past, even when it was Homestead too.
Well, in all fairness, Sean, you can mail it in for the next 2 weeks. I mean, if I'm a team owner, driver, crew chief, and I'm like, we know, because they say that the cars are the same. They're not. Drivers have a favorite, teams have a favorite. There's little intricacies because they've been twisted a little bit or haven't been, or whatever the case may be. I guarantee you, whoever wins this weekend, if they're a playoff driver, they will isolate whatever it is they love the most, and that will be the focus for the next 3 weeks. The next 2 races do not matter. I mean, they do to a point, because I guess you could point your way in, but I think everybody at this point has learned, if you want to win the championship, you go out and win Phoenix.
Yeah, you got to be thinking win in order to get it.
You don't think, I just need to have a top 5 day. That's not going to be good enough. And we've seen it, to your point, Sean, this goes back to Homestead. We've seen it from the beginning where the top 2 guys were battling it out for first and second, or first, second, and third. Well, Ryan Newman was hanging out in the back, just holding on for dear life. But the real champs were fighting it out at the front of the pack, and everybody else was just kind of a sideshow.
There you go. Pretty much. Before we get into the driver picks for this week's race, bringing it all back to Vegas here, let's go through the list of part-timers and notables for this week's race. You haven't done the honor in a little while. Rich, how about you lead us off with this one?
You got it. For the Xfinity Series, we got Nick Lights in the 07 SS Greenlight Racing car. Daniel Hemrick is back for Colleague Racing in number 11. Garrett Smithling in the number 14 SS Greenlight Racing machine. Corey Day gets to take another spin at the wheel with Hendrick Motorsports in the number 17. Eric Amarola is back with Joe Gibbs Racing in the number 19. Watch out for him. Trevor Bain making another comeback with number 24, Sam Hunt Racing. Austin Green, who Sean gave a shout out to earlier, is back with number 32, Jordan Anderson Racing. Mason Maggio, the number 35 for Joey Gase Motorsports. Mason Massey in the number 45 Alpha Prime Racing Machine, Joey Gase in his number 53 Joey Gase Motorsports car, Thomas Annunziata, the number 70 Cope Family Racing Machine. Josh Williams has got a ride again this week in the number 91 DGM Racing car. And Leland Honeyman, nope.
Actually, that was a mistake right
racing.
there.
Okay. Leland Honeyman is not racing, so forget that.
Yeah. Meant to take that out, but that was a mistake right there.
That was hilarious because it just disappeared.
I meant to make sure that was edited out right there. Didn't quite get to it in time.
No, anyway, we'll end with Josh Williams back in the number 91.
Yep, for DGM Racing right there. We only have two part-timers that are in for Cup Series race this week. JJ Yaley in the number 44 for NY Racing, and then Catherine Legg in the number 78 for Live Fast Motorsports right there. So only two.
Moving on. I'm anxious to hear your guys' picks. And like I said, I'm just being transparent. I have really, between Discord, and I've got to get off of Discord, between Discord football and football content, my racing brain is cooked.
All right, but before we get to the picks, we do have to talk a little bit of football right here, but mostly in the fact that Fantasy Guru does have NFL packages, and the guide and all that other content is still available. Go over to fantasyguru.com, get that right now. We also have MVP, Platinum, VIP, or all-in packages right now as well that are available. MLB content is available. You can also get NBA, NHL, any of the other content over at fantasyguru.com. Go forth and hit up support at fantasyguru.com for the best possible deal you can get. You scratch their back, they'll scratch yours, get you the best possible deal. So don't forget to do that. And again, be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments, interact with us, and just let us know how we're doing. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to let us know. If you want to make fun of somebody's outfit, let us know too. Sure, why not? Go forth and just interact with us. That's what we want to see. So there you go. Now we'll get to the picks. Now that quick plug is out of the way there, Rich. Now we can stop talking about football.
Hey, Armando's spending 12 hours a week in Discord. I'm in Discord all the time. Ray's in Discord. So if you guys haven't signed up for the football package and abused us in Discord, I don't know what you're doing because everybody else is.
It's like OnlyFans for football. All the abuse.
It kind of is, Mark. I'm not even on OnlyFans, but from what I hear, it sounds like.
It's only footballs at this point with just you guys there.
It's a little ridiculous, right?
Yeah, I get a little bit of that thrown my way too.
Especially when you post about the coaching stream, and it's like, guys, the coaching stream has run 365 for I don't know how long, and you just now figured it out? Like, what are we doing?
I just don't get it. I mean, I can understand if you're a newer person not knowing about it, because new people in Discord have that little icon next to their name saying, hey, they're new.
So just since I've been on, since we started, Sean, 20 messages tagged. We've been averaging 600 to 800 tagged messages a week per staff.
That is crazy, but it just goes to show, I guess, how much you guys interact with people in the chats right there. So
and
if you like interaction, that's a selling point right there. But I don't know.
Baseball fans, I hate to break it to you. Football is the national pastime, and it's not close.
Yeah, especially right now with how the NFL's ratings have been doing this season, too.
Baseball is the past national pastime.
What's said, Mark?
The pastime.
Pastime. I love it. All right, well, let's hit the picks because I know I'm dragging this out for y'all.
All right, top price picks in order to watch right here. I guess I'll start off with mine right here. I've got Kyle Larson, the number 5 car. I mean, Larson, he's been showing more and more speed over the past couple of weeks. Vegas is a really good track for him. He does have 2 wins in the next-gen car right here at this very track. One of only 2 drivers that can attest to that fact right there. And nobody's led more laps in the next-gen car at Vegas than Kyle Larson. And really, I think out of all the different races, Larson has this race circled the most, I think, of the 3 right here. So I think he's going to throw his all into this particular one. give me that number 5 team right there in order to make a really, really strong run. The other drivers I have right here, I know you guys mentioned about maybe Toyota not having the best track record right here, but it's not for a lack of effort, though, especially from Christopher Bell, who's been the runner-up in the last 2 fall Vegas races right there. And had this race 1 year ago had maybe just a few more laps, like say maybe 2 to 5 more, we would have been talking about Bell winning this race last year instead of Joey Logano, because he had the much faster car at the end right there too. So give me some Christopher Bell right there. And then the last one, I think this is more of like if you need a cheaper top price driver to watch, I'm going to say Chase Briscoe right here. 19 car has actually performed pretty decently in the past at this very track. And Briscoe, now that he's more comfortable with the car, he's been performing pretty well at the 1.5 mile intermediates this season too, especially in the second half of the year. I mean, he can show speed at any type of track. And I really do think that for the salary, if you're looking to avoid somebody not right at the top of the ladder, but maybe just a little bit further down, I kind of like Briscoe this week right here, guys.
I like those picks. Yeah, I mean, my thing is I'm trying to stay away from the Toyotas. I've really started to create this stance in my eyes that I want to target Chevys. I'm even curious to go after the Fords, although I think the Fords are going to be the Fords that we're going to go after are going to be very aggressive in this race. But I got Larson and Byron. I'm going Team Hendrick Motorsports. So no, I feel like I come on here a lot and roll out a Team Hendrick stack, but it often works out. So I'm just going to keep going back to the well and doing that. Both of these guys in the next gen car. Larson has the most laps led, and Byron is second in most laps led. So give me some guys that will probably be able to record plenty of laps led. Larson's probably going to get a lot of fastest laps too. So I think we got to put weight into that. That's one thing we can't forget about when playing DFS is the fastest laps recording. That's just as important as the lead laps. So, who's got the fastest car, paying attention in qualifying and practice. And then Logano at 10,200. So right around Byron's price point, he's going to be aggressive. I feel like this is the race. He's last on the cutoff line here. So he's got to make a move. It feels like he's the type of driver that's going to go after this one. And he's got 2 checkered flags here in the past in the next gen car itself. So I like those 3. I'm going Chevys and Fords when it comes to my top tier type of drivers. I'm not anti-Toyotas across the board, but I'm definitely prioritizing the other 2 manufacturers.
I'll never question anybody that wants to go with Hendrick, considering they're the winningest organization in NASCAR.
Yeah, I certainly I'm with you on 100% on the Larson pick. I don't mind Byron as well. I do think I want to see a little more data with him in order to help give me that last bit of confidence in order to use him, but I'm definitely not against him either overall.
I feel like Larson's going to be very, very chalky. So Byron kind of offsets that a little bit and just makes you different enough, even though he'll command some decent ownership himself.
What do you think of Chase Elliott, who's also in this range there, Mark?
I'm off Chase Elliott. I mean, Hendrick, so, his numbers are kind of, drastically different from some of these other guys. And I don't know why Chase Elliott has trouble here, I guess, but it's worth consideration. He will be the lowest owned, I would say, high-end type of driver out there. But that kind of goes against my philosophy as well, where I'm a little bit more willing to just eat the chalk at the top, like Rich was saying earlier, and then get different at the bottom. So,
hey, that's your idea, though, Mark. I mean, let's not lose sight of that. That is your philosophy to success, and you've told us how this is different than what you do in, say, basketball or football or some of the other sports. So I've taken that to heart, Mark, and I'm telling you, it has worked. You're not shocked by this because you do it too, but I'm just saying it's worked.
Yeah, and then again, you play football and it's the exact opposite. It's you do the chalk at the bottom and then you get different at the top. So every sport has a little bit of a different philosophy and approach depending on how what the DFS format is and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's also a good thing to point out that you have to remember your philosophies. I can't tell you how many times I say, this is my approach, this is what I do, and then I play a lineup, and the second things lock, I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? That is not what I do. So, and I think a lot of other DFS players fall in that exact circumstance, and I think everyone's kind of fallen victim to that at some point. So you have to remind yourself constantly what your approach is, what your process and philosophy is, and reiterate and reinforce that as you're building your lineups.
It's a good lesson to remember as it stands right there, Mark. Rich, how about you with your picks? Who do you got today?
I literally don't have any. I mean, Sean, I did not want to mislead anybody. I didn't look. I apologize. I have just been enamored with football.
All good, good. Just confirming.
If I had to pick anybody at the top, I at least got warm fuzzies from Larson this past week for speed. I've been dogging the Hendrick speed for the last month or so. I'm a little disappointed we haven't seen more from Byron lately, which makes him kind of a sleeper. I go back to, I'm not going to bet against Bell and Hamlin right now. I just can't. And I appreciate Mark's stance on the avoiding Toyotas, and I get where he's coming from. I can't seem to get there yet. I have a little more faith in Hendrick, like I said, because Larson showed speed, but man, for the last 4 to 6 weeks, this is not the Hendrick team we saw 6 or 4 months ago. And I can't get there.
Yeah, they have been overall a little bit off on speed compared to the beginning of the year. It seems like the other teams have caught up or surpassed them even in some cases. Although that being said, I do think Larson in particular, his speed has been a little more encouraging over the last few weeks because he's finally back up front and leading laps.
Let's be honest. He's the only guy that even sniffed SVG's bumper. I mean, literally. I mean, I understand the beating and banging they did at the end, but literally nobody else had anything for him. So the fact that
you could argue maybe Bell, because Bell was right there with those two.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I'm with you guys on Larson. So, I mean, I'm not going to give me Larson, give me Bell, and I don't want to be a stand, but give me Hamlin.
There you go. That's what it is. That's what we're going to do. All right. Mid-tier drivers in order to watch for this week. Mark, how about you start us off here?
Yeah, Alex Bowman. So, go ahead and complete the Team Hendrick stack and throw in an 8K driver and Bowman here. He's got a pretty solid track record as well. If we can get a top 10 out of Alex Bowman, I would argue at his price point, he's going to pay off, and he certainly can do that. The last 2 races here, we've seen him finish in the top 10. So, and he's got, I want to say 4 top 10s, 2 top 5s. He's got a victory here a few years ago. So I think there's a lot to be said about Alex Bowman in this one. Again, that aligns with the Team Hendrick approach. Brad Keselowski and Josh Berry. So Keselowski, we talked about fuel strategy. I think that's going to be a very interesting thing, and maybe we see Brad try to string it out here at the end of this race as well. We've seen. I think my other thought process is, and this is a spoiler, but I think we all kind of have some positive feelings about Ryan Preece in this one too. So maybe throw a Hendrick stack, throw in a little RFK, maybe, complete it with Legacy Motor Club. I'm thinking a couple different stacks, maybe 2-2-2 to build a lineup here. So I like Brad in this one. And then Josh Berry, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, but he won the race earlier this year. It kind of goes in line with maybe my takeaway from when we were talking about Xfinity from last week. But, sometimes going after these guys that specialize and do well on certain tracks that maybe aren't your household names to a certain degree. Josh Berry popped out to me. And, the sports books also have him up there with other guys that are priced up around 8K, 9K on DraftKings. So that's something to consider as we're getting a little bit of positive expected value with this price point at just 7,100 here.
Interesting. Josh Berry is a very interesting call because I think Berry is the definition of boom or bust pick all throughout the season, because when he does end up getting the equipment and he does end up being able to finish races, he usually finishes pretty solidly or pretty well in some cases, as we saw at Vegas early in the year. But the big problem with him, the big problem with him has either been the equipment not always holding up or him just getting involved in a mess, sometimes not even of his own doing, and just having the worst luck out there. So I do think for tournaments, I do like the idea of maybe potentially using Josh Berry right there. Alex Bowman, he was a driver that I actually considered on my own list as well right here, Mark. So I'm actually kind of along the same lines where I do like Bowman. He just misses out on my list, but I did actually heavily consider him as a potential right there. Let me get into my list right there. I'm going to be, first of all, I'm right there with you on Brad Keselowski 100%. I think that this is a race where you definitely want to utilize Brad, especially at his price point. He's only $7,600 on DraftKings and $7,800 on FanDuel. That's cheaper than the average that you see for Brad on the DK side of things. And on FanDuel, that's a pretty hefty discount for him as well as it stands. And he usually competes for like top 15 finishes at most of these mile-and-a-half intermediates this season, and sometimes even sneaks into the top 10 as it is. And Brad himself, he's had some decent history overall in the span of his career. 24 total starts in his Cup career. He has 3 wins, 13 top 10 finishes, and an average finish of 12.6 throughout his entire career at Vegas. So history does point towards Brad having a pretty solid day, so give me some of that number 6 right there. I also like his teammate, Chris Buescher, quite a bit. Buescher's regularly finished top 15 in all the mile-and-a-half races this season. He's 8,500 on DraftKings. I do think that he's a little bit better of a tournament option compared to Brad because I'm expecting a little more ownership towards the number 6 in particular because he's a little more easy to add to rosters. But I like Buescher all the same, especially because he's been the better performing driver this season. And I do think that could be a pretty nice difference maker, especially in tournaments. And then I've got Bubba Wallace right here. I know we talked about the Toyotas on their speed, but Toyota's been pretty good on the mile-and-a-halfs this season. And I do think that Bubba, he's been another one of those drivers that's been boom or bust on this track type. But I do think I want to take the risk, especially because on some of these mile-and-a-halfs right there, I think Bubba is a driver that will carry a lot of speed with him too. So I do think he's one to watch overall too.
I've got to make one comment about the mid-tier before we move on to value. And I think the very chalky build is going to be stars and scrubs, of course, because people are going to want to squeeze in dominators and then kind of fill out their lineups in the lower tier. And I think that's generally the right thought process to have, but you do have to, because we're probably going to be eating some pretty heavy chalk at the top, in my opinion, especially now that we're in the playoffs. Got to get different in some sort of capacity, and maybe that comes with your actual roster construction this week versus any kind of uniquely different drivers. So we might have to consider figuring out a way to squeeze in one mid-tier driver, because I think a lot of these guys that we just mentioned are going to be less than 20% ownership, less than 10% ownership. And if we can squeeze in one mid-tier driver within this range, that's already going to make us a lot different. What you're going to have to do in turn is probably come off of a 10K guy like a Byron, maybe go after, we didn't really talk about him much, but Chastain, I think, is a guy on the radar here. Go after a Buescher. Maybe Chastain, especially after last week, is looking for a little bit of redemption. So I think that type of build might be your contrarian leverage build here versus everyone else where they're going to go 10, 11K, 5, 6K.
That's a pretty good point, because even when you look towards the list, you notice a lot of the names that are in the mid-tier this week aren't really the sexiest of names when it comes towards this kind of racing, especially because their results have been all over the place right there. But this is also a week there too where we know that practice and qualifying could help swing our way towards some of these drivers there potentially being some real knockout picks as it stands. I mean, the drivers we named, Busher, Bowman, Wallace, or even Keselowski, of course, these drivers can have the ability in order to surprise and especially carry not that much ownership behind them, because the name recognition when it comes to this track, especially in recent races, you don't see a lot of these names towards the top of the stat ladder, even when you look at them at this particular track in recent races.
I think it's a good segue into the value tier in the sense that this is different this week. For whatever reason, there's a lot of value type of guys that I think are in consideration here from based off of what I was looking at. So that philosophy we were just talking about, these value guys, there's going to be a lot of semi-quote chalky type of plays, but I think because there's so many options, ownership will be fairly spread out, but the overall build itself is going to be very chalky going after all of these guys in this tier. So just know that even though they're value plays, they're a little bit riskier when it comes to volatility as well. A lot of people are going to be building their lineups the same way. So
Truly.
Again, it's a reminder to put a premium on the mid-tier this week and just see if you can squeeze one of them in. And I know you still have to get your dominators in, so you have to give somewhere, but just one mid-tier driver, I think, gets you different enough. But I got, speaking of all these value guys, I got Preece. I'm sure you're on Preece as well, given our conversations pretty much the whole season. $6,900, RFK as well. He's got really strong place differential here. So we have to consider someone like that. Justin Haley has very strong place differential here. He's fighting for his ride, I think. So, I think there's a little bit of that element to, maybe him having a successful day. And he's also dirt cheap. So Justin Haley at 5,300 helps you, kind of squeeze in those top tier guys. And then I really like the stack of Legacy Motor Club. I can't tell you how many times this season where that stack has paid off here for us, right? And I think a lot of people have made money stacking those two, Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek. Both of them have good numbers here. Both of them have good numbers on intermediates, particularly Eric Jones. I think Eric Jones' numbers don't pop out on this track specifically, but on intermediates in general, comparable tracks, I think Eric Jones could be kind of a lower owned play where maybe you pair him with Nemechek, who will probably command higher ownership that can offset that while still getting in that whole team. And then lastly, Daniel Suarez, not my favorite play. He's priced up, but that's going to command very low ownership despite the success in the past, even in this most recent race when he was duking it out with Josh Berry. So there's a lot of options in the value tier. I'm gravitating towards the Legacy Motor Club stack.
The value plays as it is are very, very interesting this week. You do really mention that as well. You did mention about all the drivers that basically are on my list and have discussed right there. Justin Haley, he's been a driver that's been top 25 to top 20 all throughout the year on these 1.5 mile intermediates. So I think the price point for him there is a hefty discount. I don't think we've really seen him go that far down the salary ladder other than maybe a few select races like, I don't know, road courses or something like that. But it's very interesting to see Haley this far down. I don't usually mention him every week, but I think this is a good week to mention him because the track history is also there, because throughout the majority of his starts, he's also scored positive place differential as well. And if you're looking at some of these value drivers historically based on finishes, you want to notice a lot of upward trends between where they start and where they finish. They score a lot of positive place differential finishes. That's a good sign that they do take well to this track no matter what equipment they drive. Well, for the most part, other than the back marker level equipment. But for the other drivers that I do like, you mentioned Legacy Motor Club. I am on John Hunter Nemechek this week. He's shown a lot of positive history at this particular track. So really, when you think about him, that's 6,200 this week. Really good price point for him. And even when you look on the DraftKings ladder, you look at the fantasy points per race statistic right there that they show with all the drivers. There's only 2 drivers that are about under 7K that even at least have an average of 30 points or more, and JHN is one of those drivers right there, meaning he's been one of the most consistent drivers in this very tier this season overall, and he's been a great performer. Now, the other one, well, okay, yeah, you should have seen this coming, Ryan Preece. Do I have to explain this one?
No. The numbers are there, though. It's not just you saying that.
At this point, I think by the end of the year, we might have to do like a super cut of all the different times I've recommended Ryan Preece as a DFS or betting play this year. And I'm telling you, it's at least probably going to end up being maybe 5 to 10 minutes at the very minimum, maybe even more.
I would say of the whole, and I mean, I think we've all, once he started showing success too, we got on that bandwagon with you. You led that thing, but it was one of those things where he's really kind of had a great year, I would say. The big thing though is probably 80%, 85% of the races, his name has probably came up at this point on your end, would you say? Like you said, 5 or 10 minutes worth of clips.
Yeah, at the very minimum. But you know what? I can't help but keep recommending him every week because DraftKings and FanDuel still have not wised up to how well he's performed this year and still keep him at this really cheap price point where it's like, all right, it's a no-brainer. He's in a car that's in pretty solid equipment. He basically is like, he'd be a top 15 driver this year had the playoffs not been a thing. Right there too. I mean, come on now. How are you going to price a guy that low when he's performing like a top 15 caliber driver all year? I just don't get it.
I'm curious what Rich thinks of this and what you think too, but it's like Preece and Brad to me this year have been the same. I would argue maybe even Preece has had a better year than Brad.
100% agree. Preece is better. No, I don't even think. I bet you if we go back and pull I'll do it right now. You guys keep going. I'll pull the top 10s from the guys and stuff like that. I don't think that there's a doubt that Preece, we mentioned it early in the year that we felt like Preece was either in the better equipment or, and look, to be fair, we saw this with Buescher the first year with RFK too. Brad went so far as to give Buescher the new cars, the new hauler, all the new equipment, all the investment he brought to RFK, he was giving to Buescher. And then they started, if you notice, Buescher was here and then Brad started inching up. It's like, oh, Brad's not washed. He just doesn't have the good stuff, right? And then we heard the announcement of the third team. And if you remember correctly, they moved Brad's crew chief, his pit crew, and something else to the number 60 team at the start of the year. And Brad's like, I'll take whatever's left over. And he's talked about this, that as a owner, as a leader, that he needs to take care of his employees first. And that's what he wants to do. So I'll pull the numbers for you guys as you go through the picks. But no, I have no doubts that I bet you Preece overall had the better year, at least from a consistency standpoint.
Actually, I already have some stats that are up here between the two because I have the season-long standings up on my screen as it is. Okay. But Preece is actually higher than Brad in the standings right now. Brad's 20th, Preece is 18th. Brad has more top 5s this year. He only has 2 more than Preece. Brad has 5, Preece has 3. But Preece has 1 more top 10 than Brad has this year, and he has more top 20 finishes overall this year. And Preece's average finish is 16.4 compared to Brad being 19.5 this year.
And we're getting like a $500 to $1,000 discount on DraftKings per week, basically the entire season. Yeah,
because of name.
100%. Maybe the historical track data is maybe keeping that. I don't know. It's kind of mind blowing to me that we're not seeing Preece at higher price points than Brad at this point. But it just goes to show how good of a play he is. So,
And keep in mind, too, even in the standings factor, the only driver that's been higher than Priest in the standings that isn't a playoff driver is Chris Buescher, his teammate. That right there is telling.
I'm at the next NASCAR race. I'm gonna have to just wear a Ryan Priest shirt at this point because the amount of money that he's kind of secured us here over the season.
Yeah,
look at Buescher too, for that matter. I mean, for the whole first 3 months of the year, we called him Mr. Top 10. We just kept telling everybody to bet his top 10s, and we missed like 1 out of the first 10 races or something crazy like that. Like the times we told him to bet. I mean, it was insane, right? What really, Mark, I think the biggest takeaway we should have on this is, do we think RFK can take a step forward? Because you had 3 drivers that were on the cusp of making the playoffs. All of them were, I mean, right there, right? And if we aren't doing a playoff winning you're in stuff, where does the RFK drivers really fall relative to their competitors, right?
Well, actually, we would probably be looking at the fact that 2 of the 3 would be in the playoffs right now if that was the case and when you're in wasn't a thing.
Right. Just because of the points, right? Where I'm going with this is there's talk about getting rid of the playoffs, right, Sean? So we all know where you finish matters. Making the playoffs is a big windfall and sponsors and all that. Being a top 10 season-long finisher in NASCAR used to be a good payday. Like there was some significance that came with that, right? This team having 3 non-playoff drivers is not far from being a top-tier caliber team. I mean, okay, I'll ask both of you. Your driver, you're going to go sign with someone. You're going to sign with RCR or RFK?
Oh, definitely RFK.
Right. Not even close, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got a choice between Spire Motorsports and RFK.
Still RFK for me.
RFK for me too, yeah.
I agree. Joe Gibbs obviously would get the nod. Hendrick would get the nod. Penske would get the nod. But outside
I think
of
RFK's
that,
4. I think that you just said it in the order too, really. Well, Hendrick first, in my opinion.
2311 or RFK.
See, that's what I was about to bring up right there. That's
where it gets tough, right?
I don't like Toyotas, though. I don't like Toyotas, man.
That's fair. I'm with you, Mark. But I'm just saying that's at the point that I think it's discussion. And all I'm trying to illustrate is there's a lot of hype for 2311. They were a playoff team. But if we're being honest here, I don't think any 3 of us are automatically sold on 2311 over RFK.
It's in question, yeah.
I'd put 2311 and RFK on the same tier as probably Trackhouse as well, too.
Fair. I would definitely go RFK over Trackhouse. I don't know if I'd go RFK over 2311, but I would put all 3 in that same tier.
Yeah, I think in general, RFK is better on just all track types, but Trackhouse has the edge on certain types of courses that I think is just big for that.
You're just hoping Justin Marks would introduce you to Pitbull. Be honest.
Pitbull's not even going to be a part of the team anymore.
I know he's not right now. He's not now, but that doesn't mean Marks doesn't have a relationship with him, Sean.
I've met Pitbull.
Wait, are you serious?
So when I worked for the Mets, they hosted the All-Star Game in 2013, and he was the musical performance, and they had me working the parking for the VIP lot. And sure enough, Pitbull's Escalade comes in, and they didn't have a pass. So here I am telling Pitbull's driver that they can't park in the parking lot without a pass. And Pitbull and some woman, I don't know who it was, they turned on the windows and they're like, he didn't even say anything. I was just like, oh shit, it's Pitbull. I made a call to my boss. We got it figured out, man.
Don't say anything else. Hold on 1 minute. Boss, we got Pitbull here. They do not have a parking pass. Do I have permission to let them in, please?
I was like an intern at the time, man. So I was in a tough spot, man. It would have been my fault.
That's brutal, didn't
perform at the All-Star Game that day. It would have been.
And it would have been your fault. We've been like,
it would have been my fault.
Mark Hogan's fault. Pitbull wasn't at the All-Star Game. That stupid son of a bee.
Yeah. So I don't think he liked me, but
Well, you let him in, so I mean, he can't like hold too much of a grudge.
Oh yeah, but I don't think he was happy about sitting in at the entrance of the parking lot for 20 minutes either.
Oh my lord, probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But that's a good story, right?
Hey, security, man. That's on the driver. That's what I've always said.
When I had hot passes at a race, I watched this poor schlup just get the what for from security. Like, he pointed to me because I came through. I flashed the right pass, right? And he goes, "You got to have one of them. You don't have one of them, you are not getting past here." And I'm thinking, all the stories I've heard about NASCAR, because the drivers, the big joke is none of them wear their hard card, right?
Yeah.
And I don't remember which young driver it was. He goes, "I don't get that luxury." Maybe it was Bowman. It might have been Alex Bowman. He goes, "I don't get that luxury. I got to wear mine. I got stopped at such and such track, and apparently I look like everybody else." It was only because like Dale Jr. came by. I was like, "Hey, Murray, come on!" And they're like, he's like, "See."
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. That it was Bowman. It's probably during the days when he was still driving for backmarker teams, trying to cut his way through the sport, and then eventually became his test driver.
I believe it was the first year he was actually at Hendrick, because before that he was just the test driver. But he admitted he had been driving long enough and wasn't recognizable, whoever it was, and it was hilarious because it was one of the other drivers that saved him.
Yeah. That's pretty good right there, right, as it stands. But
it's security, like Mark said.
True. Any other final thoughts before we move on to the course, fellas?
None.
All right, let's get to the course then. DFS Core 4s. For me, I got Kyle Larson at 11,500 on DraftKings, 14,000 on FanDuel. Brad Keselowski at 7,600 on DraftKings, 7,800 on FanDuel. Justin Haley at 5,300 on DraftKings and 3,500 on FanDuel. That is dirt cheap. And then rounding it out with probably the name I've said most this year, Ryan Preece at 6,900 on DraftKings and 6,500 on FanDuel. I mean, 6,500, that's still not given the proper respect. Come on now, FanDuel.
So I like that core. I really like throwing in Keselowski and Preece. Like, I think that just that RFK stack, the more and more I look at that, I feel like that's more and more the way to go. It's going to make you different while also still having a really strong build. So I'm a big fan of that. But I got Larson, 11,500, Byron at 10,000. I'm already going back on this. I listed Justin Haley at 5,300. I just feel like with the amount that we've been looking at Haley is not a lock. Like, despite the track success, the guy's on the hot seat. He could easily go out and put up a day. So I think it's going to be a really easy click given the savings and the history here. A lot of players, I would not be surprised if somehow we saw Justin Haley at like 30% ownership. Which would be absurd. And that completely goes against how I like this build. So I listed Eric Jones at 6,300. I think we're going to see low ownership there. And I'll just point out, I'm going to replace Haley with John Hunter Nemechek at $6,200 and just throw out that Legacy Motor Club stack as well. So I'm really interested in Legacy. I'm interested in RFK, and I'm interested in Hendrick.
I can get behind the idea of going to JHN over Haley right there, too. I do think there's a bit of a performance jump overall between the two, as it is right there, too. I think legacy equipment-wise, with JHN is going to probably have a more, like, the higher chance of finishing better than Haley is. I think Nemechek could contend for a top 15 if the car is on point, too. So that right there is very convincing me, Mark.
You could do Legacy and then maybe throw in Bowman and just roll out a 3-car Hendrick stack there and bypass like a Keselowski or something like that.
That's true, too. There you go. So any final thoughts on our cores here before we move to the betting ones there, Rich?
All I have to say is the Yankees can suck it.
Something happened in the baseball game then, huh?
They lost. They done. Sayonara.
Good.
Well, until next year.
See? I'm not alone. Right back at you, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where your fandom falls, Sean. Sorry.
Oh, I'm a Met fan.
Oh, then yeah. See, we should all be celebrating. Suck it.
We're all aligned. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But going to betting. Speaking of betting, I do have to say I'm hedging a little bit, but I did want to put on the record that if I am going to go with one Toyota driver, it's going to be Christopher Bell for me. I think Hamlin is I think the price point is higher, first of all, in DFS, but I'm feeling something weird about Hamlin, and I think even what you said about Martinsville here in a few weeks, it just kind of feels like he might be saving it a bit. But I got Larson and Bell plus 500, plus 550, and then Chastain plus 1400. Maybe we get a redemption race out of him here. And Chase Briscoe, we've been talking about it, and I have to throw in another Toyota to kind of hedge my bets here and make sure I have a little bit of exposure. Plus 1100. I think Chase Briscoe, for all the reasons that we've talked about, is totally in play, despite my affinity to avoiding avoiding Toyota. But Bell and Briscoe are making it into my betting core four here to hedge my bets a little bit.
So with your list, I share 3 out of the 4. So that should show some shared confidence in some of the picks. Particularly, I'm with you on Larson, Bell, and Briscoe. I got those 3 also in my betting core 4 as well. Where you differ with Ross Chastain, I'm going with Rich's feeling here when saying Denny Hamlin's going to be in the betting core 4 in order to compete for the win this week. Hamlin's been very fast on these 1.5-mile tracks. I'm not going to underestimate the speed, even though the results have not been there for Hamlin. He has been able to find his way to the front in the last couple of Vegas races to at least lead a couple of laps. So I do think in that sense, he's going to be in contention for the win right there.
I dig it.
I think you got to have some money on Hamlin.
If you wanted a gut shot call, I don't know that it's Mark talked me into it or what, but I'm kind of digging Bell. Like there's something stewing. I can just feel it in my bones. There's something stewing with Christopher Bell.
You know, in a way, this is kind of like a revenge race for him because he's been the runner-up in the last 2 fall Vegas races. And I'm sure he's probably still quite bitter about the fact that he finished second to a fuel mileage Joey Logano last year.
He was salty about that last year. He was seriously salty about that last year.
Yeah, knowing that he had the faster car and he had another lap or 2, he was getting around Logano, no problem.
Blue Jays are celebrating with ski goggles on. McChicken bet. I'm ready for the McChicken bet.
All right, let's get into the other bets and picks as it stands right here. Mark, how about you start us off here? You got an interesting one to start.
Yeah, so my McChicken is Josh Berry with the back-to-back plus 3,500. That's I actually think that we should be seeing like plus 5,000 or something like that, but Vegas might know something there, so they're pricing him up. Josh Berry top 5 plus 450. That's pretty crazy. Daniel Suarez top 5 plus 1,000. So these are really aggressive bets that I'm throwing out here. So just keep in mind the unit should be lighter on those first 3 that I mentioned. And then I'll go heavier on the remaining bets that I'm listing. Briscoe versus Elliott. Briscoe minus 115. We talked about Elliott and some of the struggles that he's had here in the past and all the reasons why we like Briscoe. Blaney versus Hamlin. So this is probably the most controversial one on here, but I got Blaney minus 105 over Hamlin. So again, kind of taking that stand going against Hamlin. And, Blaney, he wrecked out earlier this year. I think that skews some of his numbers. So I think he's going to be overlooked a bit. But make no mistake, he can make some noise here. Winning manufacturer, if you just bet both Chevy and Ford, we're going to get a profitable return if really either of them. I would say lighter on the Ford bet, heavier on the Chevy, but I feel like Ford is a misprice at plus 350. Vegas likes Toyota a lot more, so I do differ with them on Toyota.
In before it ends up not even mattering because Christopher Bell wins on Sunday.
There you go, yeah. Yep.
All right, let me get into some of my other bets that I'm going to mention right here. I got 3 top 10s to mention. I got Bubba Wallace for a top 10 at even money, plus 100 right there. Then I'm going to go with Mr. Top 10 to get one more to his collection, Chris Buescher, getting plus 110 for a top 10. And then give me some Brad Keselowski for a top 10 at plus 160. So that right there is the top 10s. I also have one of the DraftKings group winner bets here as well. This is for Group D, which is between Bubba Wallace, Josh Berry, Alex Bowman, and Austin Cindric. This may be a bit of a bolder call, but give me some Bubba Wallace at plus 200 in order to win the group right there. I think that's a pretty interesting angle to take.
It is.
And I'll mention this McChicken winner bet, and I'm particularly mentioning this one because I think the odds of this are absolutely freaking ridiculous right here. But Ryan Preece, yeah, I'm going there. He's plus 8,000 in order to win this race. 8 to 1.
80 to 1 for you keeping it home. 80 to 1.
Yeah, 80 to 1. And keep in mind, he finished third at this race earlier in the year. Third at Vegas, even though like Barry and Suarez, part of this was due to pit strategies that got them the track position, he still was able to keep it and be competitive right there. So do not underestimate this as a long shot right there that could potentially happen. And he's ran pretty solidly at the 1.5 mile tracks all season long. At the fact that they're putting him behind some other drivers like Austin Cindric, Ty Gibbs, even Eric Jones. I mean, that right there, it makes you wonder about the lines right there with Ryan Preece when he's finished better than most of these drivers regularly on a regular basis on these types of tracks right there, guys.
Those are some fascinating odds for sure.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You want a crazy long shot bet?
Yeah.
Kyle Busch wins at his home track. He's got to be somewhere around 60 to 1 is my guess.
Nope, he's 28 to 1.
No, that's not long enough. Forget it then.
He's the same odds as Buescher in order to win.
Not worth it.
Plus 2,800 to win, but plus 100 to blow a tire.
Oh, now that bet I might be in on.
Yeah, considering the bad luck that RCR's had with that kind of thing this year, yeah, definitely consider that one.
I really wish
minus odds.
I really wish NASCAR would get us more like the horse racing odds, where we could do like win, play, show, that sort of thing. I would also love if we had more bets for like betting on cars to not finish the race. You know what I mean? Some more. I don't want to say circus bets, but I mean, play around with it, because all we really get is we get the head-to-heads, we get the groups, and don't get me wrong, that's fine, but we don't really get any props, right? And I don't understand. NASCAR is so much more like horse racing than any of the other sports, that why we don't get the betting like the horse racing. So I'd like to see some of that. Maybe one day. Maybe if I can dream. Maybe I should email NASCAR more of these ideas, and in 5 years we'll have them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, we've seen a lot of DNFs from some notables here. We talked about Blaney this year. Bubba Wallace in particular, I think still leads.
Kyle Busch may be minus 110 for a DNF or something, right? But I mean, it'd be fun to, I bet you Christopher Bell would be like plus 600, right? Or imagine being able to bet a Joey Logano not finishing the race at plus something. Like I'd have a hard time not betting it just for fun.
And that's
you want to talk books?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can create all kinds of content with that too. They could throw that on the broadcast. Hey, Joey, you're the most hated driver this week because you got 80% of the money going against you that finished the race, type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like that
would be awesome, dude.
Yeah, it would.
I love it, Mark.
If he's calling the broadcast for the Xfinity race, they'd be like, yeah, tomorrow it's not looking good for you based off of everyone at Vegas.
The predictive markets is predicting you to not finish. Oh, really?
That's okay. We're still going to go out there and win the race anyway. Because I'm Joey Logano, and I find my way to finish anyway.
With my golden horseshoe. Hold on.
And he's like, we're always silencing doubters. This is what the 22 team does. Meanwhile, he finishes 20th at the Charlotte Roval and barely makes it in the next round.
Here's another one. Who gets the loudest boos at driver intros?
Oh,
Denny Hamlin or Joey Logano, depending on what happens earlier in the week.
I was going to say, both of them are going to be at minus odds, right? And then watch, somebody gets in trouble for, getting in a fight like Mark Sanchez, and at last minute, all of a sudden, the guy at plus 600 gets the loudest boos.
While we're talking about the whole drivers not to finish thing, what would be interesting is the opposite end of it, and where you try to predict a driver that never DNFs to get a DNF, and it actually happens. Like if we were doing it for like Chase Elliott, for example, because he's barely gotten any this year. Oh, they probably put his odds at like maybe 30-1 or something like that.
Right.
But that would be like, man, that, because I use the books for research too. And that type of data would be invaluable. Like, to get the odds on who's going to finish and who doesn't. Obviously Vegas knows what they're talking about. Like, you can use that when you're building your lineups to calculate risk.
Yeah. For example, hey, so-and-so's chalky, but did you know that they are actually the third highest from a percent standpoint or odds standpoint of not finishing the race?
There you go.
Yeah.
But what if?
Or these books should hire us. I'm telling you, I don't know what their problem is.
Or if you wanted to do head-to-head matchups, like for season-wide based on particular stats, an interesting one could be to compare like two different drivers and figure out who's going to lead more laps for the year. Like, you think about this, for example. You do like Christopher Bell versus Shane Van Gisbergen. Who do you think has led more laps this season?
You know what? Because of I would say this is a trap bet. Because of the stupid road courses, I'm going to go SVG.
Oh, man, but there's so few laps. Like, I guess, the Cup races, you have more. Yeah, it would probably have to be SVG.
Yeah, currently it is SVG. SVG's led 312 and Bell's only led 282.
So, Mark, the way I kind of figured it was a trap question, right? But the other part of it was he has been so dominant, led so many laps. Let's just say he led 90% of 5 races, even at the short length. All right, rule out right, because Daytona and Talladega have a lot of laps relative, right? 200, 167, whatever. Nobody's leading most of any of those laps. That's a done deal given, right? And then you go and look at, say, okay, Martinsville and Bristol are both 500-lap races, so drivers could absolutely do that. Well, the drivers that did that, though, wasn't Christopher Bell. Like, we know Ty Gibbs led the most laps at the last Bristol race, right? So there's only so many of these high-lap races that they could be in, whereas we know out of the 7 or 5 or whatever the hell it was, the road races, SVG literally led 80-some-odd%. So
that would be a hell of a futures market, though, is
right?
laps led on the season. That would be fun to bet.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
That'd be so tough, too. So tough. I mean, man, that would be so hard to get right. It's like it would be like betting touchdowns.
Or just doing a head-to-head. Like if they just offered, is SVG or Christopher Bell going to record more laps led on the season?
And I guarantee if you had set that up pre-season, no way SVG is minus odds.
SVG would be plus 320.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah, you're right. Probably closer to a plus 1,000. That would have been an insane bet to make.
And Bell would have been like minus 280 or something like that.
And yet, right now, as it stands, SVG's led more laps than Bell has this year.
Which, now let's say Bell ends up leading a bunch at Martinsville. Like,
then he's going to win.
Sweat. Talk about a sweat, right? Like, we're down to 3 or 4 races, and you're like, man, I got this one. I got SVG. Look at all this money I'm going to make. And then we go to Martinsville. There's 500 laps. Bell starts on the pole. You're halfway through the race, and dude has led 220 of the 250 laps, and you're going, oh, my God.
I'm losing.
Like,
I've lost.
I'm losing now. What just happened? That would be so much fun, though, man. Talk about a good sweat, though.
Yeah,
well,
it would.
Gentlemen, fantastic show. It was great to be back with you guys. I apologize to everybody I didn't have any picks, but I'm being very transparent. I take it very personally when I lose you guys money, okay? I felt very, very good about Joey Logano last week. I put him in the article. I talked him up, and it was the same thing on Daniel Hemrick. Looking back, do I hate the bets? No. I feel like the odds were calling us. The numbers should have been there. Maybe Vegas knew something was going on in the garage I didn't know. At the same time, it pains me to think that I pushed those bets hard and we lost. I'm not feeling the groove. I'm not. I'm in football mode. I'm half pregnant on NASCAR. I am not going to mislead anybody. Hat tip to Mark and Sean. I'm digging what they put out there. I'm willing to trail. If something changes and I have some good feeling or something happens at practice where I'm just zoned in, I will be more than happy to put a bet out there. But look, we take playing with your guys' money. The bets we put out there, we view it as we're playing with your money. Okay? At least I do. That's important to me. I will lose my money. I ain't going to lose your money. So that's where I'm at this week on this stance. So I do apologize on that. But hey, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. At this point of the year for NASCAR, I'm more of a fan than anything else because there's nothing left but a couple of races to win in the championship. That's where we're at. So, but gentlemen, it's been awesome. Any final thoughts, Mark?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I think all three of us can attest to that's my number one goal, and that's I think why we all probably put so much heart and sweat and work into all the content that we're putting out there on the website because our goal is to make everyone money and not lose it. So
right,
even from a tournament perspective, so. 100%. And we've got a lot of content out there too. So I know Rich has got all kinds of football stuff. I got some football stuff coming up. So just, keep an eye on us for NFL because starting, going, there's articles that have already been going out this week. We got more stuff coming out this weekend. You guys are going to be seeing our faces pretty frequent here as we progress throughout the week.
Yeah, and then even during some of the live streams, I've been helping out on the back end of all that in order to help people figure out the right places to get the right information too. So I know we hinted at it earlier in the chat where I was just trying to direct people to the roster coach live stream, but that's part of the job. I try to make sure to let the people know, hey, this is where you go in order to get the people full info. You see?
I love when they tag you with football questions and you're like, don't ask me. You're paraphrasing. Don't ask me, but maybe ask these guys. But here's my take.
Yeah, because every once in a while I will answer a football question based on the knowledge that I've done by listening to different live streams and content and all that. But I'm not a certified expert like these guys are. I'm not on their level, so.
No, but you bring our
you're
NASCAR
not giving
level
yourself
to a
enough
whole
credit,
different.
Sean.
I would say you should give yourself more credit because but you are on a whole different level with NASCAR. So don't be selling yourself short. You got any final thoughts for the NASCAR weekend or football, Sean?
Well, if anything, we're in the final stretch of races right here. So let's try to give it our best and close it out strong with NASCAR as we head towards the last the semifinal round of the playoffs and last off weekend for the trucks. And then after that, all three series, 3 straight weeks. Final rush, final grind. Let's get it done.
All right. Well, big shout out and thank you to fantasyguru.com that lets us do this in the Elite Plus network. Thank you to really, it was Armando and Jeff that signed off on this, and we really appreciate it. We gave a little shout out to Jorge Pucks there in the hockey. He's been doing great stuff. Fencey on the basketball. Scott Bonder still, I think he's the one that had the Dong report. That was awesome read if you check that out. There is a ton of content to read. And I'll tell everybody right now because I say it over in Discord and people don't listen. The people that are winning money regularly, winning leagues regularly, are reading the content. We are all busy, and I'm just going to be transparent. I get a little tired of hearing, well, I was busy. I got this going on. I was busy. I got that going on. So I want this question answered, or I'm not reading the content. It's up to you to manage your time, not up to us. And if you put the time in, you will reap the benefits. If you don't, there is no shortcut. going to Discord and just doing the shortcuts, no way to do it. And I want to give a shout out to every single one of our members in the NASCAR Discord. I'm not going to be able to name all the names. You know who you guys are because we interact with you on a regular basis. There's a handful. You guys do it right. You read the content, you take it, you try to apply it, and you ask for clarifications and a little bit of advice. And you always take that advice and apply it going forward. So I want to give a hat tip to every one of the NASCAR members in our Discord channel. You make Discord fun. It's a shame we can't get you guys to teach lessons to everybody else on how to use Discord. But on behalf of Fantasy Guru and the Elite Plus Network, I am Rich Maletto. That is Sean Engel. Find him on X at SeanE247. That's Mark Hogan. Be sure you give the DFS Marlin a follow. He knows his DFS stuff. Seriously, the guy makes all of us better players on all the sports. On behalf of all of us at Fantasy Guru, it's been real. Till next time, peace.